Where did everybody go? Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. My software kept going, but YouTube stopped. So I was showing that I was streaming, and then I showed that the connection was cut. But I don't actually know what happened. I don't even know what I'm running on at this moment. But obviously, people are starting to come back in. So if you could tell me where we left off, you could just kind of give me an idea where we left off. Yep, I'm here. I've been scrambling, trying to get YouTube back on. We got 13 people back, so people are starting to see it and starting to return. I have no idea why YouTube shut me off. Certainly wasn't talking about anything taboo. At the end of the antibiotic story. So I gave the price of the antibiotics. I think I noticed it pretty quick. I don't think I was going on for very long. Cost of the prescription. Okay. And which was 19,800 pesos. So I'm going to get to the topic that I planned on covering today. Yep, that's still coming up. All right, I think I pieced it back together. Oh my God. I mentioned that I was going to talk about a troll, and I said, well, no, he's not a troll. I think this is a person that's well-intentioned. But a few weeks back, somebody took exception with me talking about the temperature here. And at some point I had said the high temperature. I don't honestly remember exactly what it was, but it was a few years back. It was a record. Everybody here was talking about it. I think it was like 86, maybe 87 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. It was either 86 or maybe 87 degrees. And it was a record temperature. And so the guy called me out, and he said that he was here at the time and he used his cell phone, and the cell phone said it was 90 degrees. And last week I mentioned, well, you can't, Emil, actually I was way past that. But, and I've lost all those previous comments. I don't even think this was on the same video that I was doing. I think I created a new one. But anyway, he said he got it on a cell phone, and I said, well, but there's only a couple models that ever had actual outdoor temperature on the cell phone, and they stopped doing them because they were so inaccurate, because they couldn't stop it from picking up the heat from the phone. And so whatever it said was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees warmer than it actually was. So what was the point of having it? Well, he wrote to me again. So I'm going to show you what he wrote, because this isn't to pick on him, because like I said, I actually think he means well. I think he's sure of where he's coming from. He's just in error. And because it involves temperature, which, a lot of people want to know about, I figured that I will talk about this. So here's what he wrote. Okay, Lauren, I don't know why you continue to insist on providing false data. Since YouTube deletes links, I won't provide them. But I checked 6 websites for the historical data on Armenia. Ironically, the only website that did not show 90 degrees was the airport one. All the others showed 89 to 90 degrees for January 22nd, 2019. The records also show 88 degrees in February and March 2019. You can continue to misinform your viewers, but it just reflects on your credibility and your personality. So because he got a little personal there, I'm thinking, maybe maybe he's kind of trolling me, but in reflecting back, I don't think so. I think he's trying to correct something that he perceives as an error. I will admit, it's pretty annoying. You know, when you live in a place and you're immersed in it, and he knew because he was here for a couple weeks back then. You know, it's kind of annoying when you're telling somebody that lives it, you know, and here's the deal. First of all, the airport is way south of here, and it's way hotter than Armenia in general, and the north in particular. Second of all, I'm always talking about the north. Everything I refer to is in the north, except when I specifically talk about the south. And when I've been down doing videos in the south, I'm always commenting on how much hotter it is down there. All right. Now, I probably should mention how you take a temperature. To get an accurate temperature, there's a few rules. First of all, it's got to be 5 feet off the ground. You don't want to be close to the ground because it's hotter. You don't want to be above because it can be cooler. If you're going to get an accurate taking, it's going to be 5 feet above the ground. Second of all, it has to be in the shade. Obviously not in direct sunlight. So it has to be in the shade. It has to be over top of dirt or grass, because if it's concrete or block or something like that, it skews the temperature. And you have to use an actual thermometer, not a cell phone, not an app like that. So when I talk about the temperature to you guys, I'm talking about where I am, where I live. I live in the north part of Armenia. What do I always say about Armenia? You have microclimates. It's considerably cooler by a number of degrees in the north than in the south on most days. Not all days, but some days. Nothing's ever all the same. But in general, I can go down in the south. There won't be much of a breeze. And even then, it depends where in the south. But there won't be that much of a breeze, and it'll be hotter. And I come to the north, and all of a sudden, I'm getting this breeze, which makes it feel cooler. It's just, it's a little more refreshing. And so there's a difference of several degrees. On the time he was talking about, I made a couple videos, and at the time I spoke to it, that in the north, breezes, I've shown the breezes, and we did hit a record, and people here locally were discussing it, and it never got to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, they talk in centigrade or Celsius. It never got to 90 degrees. Did it get to 90 degrees in the south? Probably. I don't think that's even a record in the south. But the thing is, he's getting his information first from his cell phone, which said 90 degrees, which would automatically mean it wasn't 90 degrees. You can do a quick search on that and you'll see. But then, in order to continue his argument, because his source was his cell phone, which was inaccurate, then he goes to the internet. And I've told you all the time that the internet information is bogus. Now, where do they get official temperatures generally? They get them from the airport. So he's reading from the airport. And at the airport, it says that it never gets up to, 88 was a high, I think he said, at the airport. What was it? He doesn't say, just says didn't get to it. But that would actually surprise me that it doesn't get to 90 down there, because it's so much hotter there. And people that come here, I pick them up at the airport and they go, oh my God, it's so hot. I thought it's supposed to be cool. And then we drive up, to the north of Armenia and they go, oh, this is beautiful. I don't make this stuff up, because think about it. Why on earth would I lie about the temperature? That would assume that I'm trying to fool people into thinking that it's cooler than it is. So I ask you, why do I care? am I trying to influence you? Am I trying to get you to come to Armenia? I'm not. I could care less if you come here or not. I do the video when I was in Manizales. I talked about Manizales. I wasn't trying to get people to come there. I'm videoing and talking about what I'm seeing, my life, my adventures, as I caption it where I am. It so happens I am a little biased about Armenia because of my years of history going back 20 years and good feelings I have about it. And I readily admit that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make things up. And I certainly am not trying to entice people to come here. As a matter of fact, I'm a little concerned that it seems like there's probably 10 or 12 people that are planning on moving here. And I don't want to see any kind, well, that's hardly a gringo wave or an invasion, but I don't want to see anything like that. I would hate to think I ultimately ended up being responsible for 200, 300, 400 people from North America coming here, because I love Armenia so much. I plan on dying here. I mean, I'm not leaving here. I don't want it to be impacted the way other places are, and I don't think 200 or 300 people are going to do that. But I'm conscious of that, and so I have no motive or incentive to make up some temperature and alter it by a couple degrees. So I appreciate where the guy is coming from. I actually do. But, the comments about, I'm trying to mislead people and stuff like that, it's just kind of nonsense. If you know anything about me, you know that's not the case. Now, I do misspeak sometimes, and last week is a good example when I had already done my homework, and I was kind of rushing through without going into any kind of detail or nuances of something. And it was a topic I didn't really want to talk about anymore. And please don't send me any more information on vaccines or whatever. I've read enough. I know enough. The only thing I'm going to say today is those people that were calling me out, they couldn't find or didn't take the time to look at what the CEO of Pfizer said, or, they read it a different way. All right, set all that aside. Let's say that's just total crap. You have to know that Pfizer just announced that they're going into clinical trials on a new vaccine for the new variants. If they were effective before, why would they be doing that? I mean, you got to use some common sense too. But everything I was telling you was true. Did I misspeak on something or say it a certain? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'll do that. I was kind of rushing through it, and I wasn't, citing sources or whatever. But I can give my opinion or how I feel about something if I choose to. So there's that. So you don't have to send me any more information on it. You don't have to tell me how wonderful masks are and all that. The thing is, if you love all that stuff, go for it. I have never one time been anti-vax on this channel. I even did an entire video, which got pulled ironically by YouTube, about why I'm not worried about the vaccines. Because a lot of people had all these ideas, and you do some homework and you figure out that's not the case. And yeah, were there some issues? Yes, but most of those issues were preventable. It's really a matter of the application rather than, but all of that. I'm not here to educate people. Somebody says, tell me your sources. Tell me how you got to, you know what? You go do it. I'm not taking my time to educate you. I took the time to tell myself, and that's how it is. So, I mean, if you take offense at those things, then don't watch, but it's not really what I do videos about. It's only because it's been a big topic and people coming here want to know what the deal is. And, I'm trying to look at the tea leaves and see where it's going. And you see a couple countries say, oh, we're just not going to do this anymore. And you see the Pfizer guy come out and says what he says, and this report that came out of Sweden by a whole bunch of scientists. You take all this stuff into account, and the tea leaves say well, I don't think it's going to get worse. It's probably going to get better. Yeah, that's all that's about. All right. Let's see. It seems there was a misunderstanding between taking the temperature with a cell phone and using the cell phone to look up the temperature. Well, no, he said that he had a cell phone that had the ability to take the outside temperature. And they don't anymore, but there were a couple models. I think LG was one of them. I think even Apple did it once, but they stopped doing it because they were inaccurate and it was problematic and they couldn't find a way to make it accurate. So they stopped doing it. And he specifically said that's where he got his information from. He then probably used his cell phone or wherever, and he started looking on the internet for information. But you can't convince me when I'm sitting here, actually, well, it was 3-4 years ago when it was a heat wave, and thermometers started to appear at tiendas and things like that hadn't before because people were curious. Everybody was talking about it. And so I saw a couple, you know, in the heat of the day and in conversation. And, you know, so I spoke to it. But I never claimed to be 100% accurate, but at least take what I say in context. You know, I'm talking about in the north. So I have no idea where he's getting his information, but I'm not wrong. You know, I don't mind being wrong. It just so happens I'm not. Not even a meteorologist gets the weather right. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is we saw that message, and there was one before that, and it's like, you know, if one person is thinking or saying that, there's a good chance other people are, or people saw that comment. Well, they didn't have to see it because YouTube now, about 1 out of every 4 comments, this started a few months ago, they get buried, and I have to go look and approve so that they appear publicly. That used to be, once every couple months something would happen. Now it's happened like 1 in 4 comments. And I look and there's no reason. He said something about links, but it's not about links or saying a bad word or saying the V word or any of that kind of stuff. It just, every so often they're pulling comments. So I'll go in and approve it. So he had one, it's not very great, but I approve it unless it's really a worthless comment. You know, it's just being nasty and it has no point. Whether I agree or not agree with what he said or how he said it, I think he had a point. I think it applies, so I showed it publicly. Let's see. That's the great thing about Colombia. Temperature depends a lot on elevation. Too hot, just drive up to a higher elevation. Well, there's that too, but the microclimate is what a lot of people aren't really familiar with. If you drive south from where I am about 1/4 mile, you've got a different climate. It'll be not, I mean, sometimes it's not, but typically it will be. One of the nice things when I was living in the high rise, I'm up, you know, on the, what was it, 10th floor? Yeah, so up on the 10th floor and balcony overlooking Armenia. I could see, like every day, it's over there raining in that barrio. It's like every day around this time. And over here, and it would be consistent for over here and over here and over here. And you go in the south, and, you know, one day I was walking around San Jose neighborhood and doing videos, and oh my God, I thought I was going to die. It was so hot. The air was just, it was just dead. There was no air movement, and it was just miserable. But, you know, I walked, and I ended up walking back up to Bolivar Plaza, and then I walked down Catorce a little ways, if you know where I'm talking about. And then when I got to Parque Sucre, I got in a taxi and went back home. But once I got to Parque Sucre, it started cooling off. And I got home, and it was like, you know. And it's not like it was going from, you know, the worst time at 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock when things are starting to cool down. I mean, it was not that long of a period. So you get these microclimates, and they're a real thing, you know, but yeah, altitude will come into play also. Enjoying my time in Armenia. Met some good friends here. Yeah, it's a great time. I didn't know you had moved here until you mentioned it. He sent me his WhatsApp, so I'll send the WhatsApp out to some of the other people here, because people here tend to want to socialize with each other. I'm probably the only one that doesn't very much. Wait, you mean I went out and bought $50 worth of strawberries and licorice for nothing? I had a watch like that and it never worked right. Oh, well, do the watches have the outside temperature? I think it has its body temperature, but I don't know. All I know is what I was living here. I was living here at the time. I know what it was. And if it had hit 90, I would have said it hit 90. It didn't. What I said was whatever the temperature was, 86, 87 degrees, that's what it was. And so that's what I said. Okay. What time is it? It's Q&A time. It's time to start asking. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. So we lost half of our viewers, you know, going off for, I don't know how long it was. It seemed like forever on this side trying to get it fixed. But keep in mind, if you want to write to me, there's my email up on the screen. I'll go through this stuff. And I'm peddling this traveler's insurance now, because you can get your 2 or 3 months of traveler's insurance, pretty reasonable price. Somebody tells me that when you hit 70, you can't get it through this company. I'll look into that. I wasn't aware of it. So that could be, but I could get it. I'm 68, so I don't know. So there's that. The information's down in the comment section. It's also on the website, which is there, grandcolumbia.live. Everything in the world is there. If you lose video like we did today, you can always go there, and whatever I come up with, it's going to show up there. And I don't have any questions yet, so we'll talk about Emil's apartment. It's open. I know it's hard to keep track. Some people have had to cancel because one guy who had 2 shots and a booster came down with COVID, and so now his trip is delayed. So anyway, let's take a look. George, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. Question. Have you seen lots of tourists since the travel mandate on December 14th or a decline? Also, have you heard anything about them taking that restriction off? I don't actually deal with a lot. It's not like I got a tourist bureau here. If I see 1 or 2 people in a month, that's a lot. Last year, I think I saw a total of maybe 7 people out of a year. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not pushing, come to Armenia. Just people watch the videos and get interested. But I also tell people, a lot of people who are interested here, but after we have a little conversation, I think our Manizales would probably be suited better for them, and I tell them that. So anyway, I haven't heard anything about them taking the restriction off. I'm just speculating that it'll probably go in that direction. I know there was a lot of argument about putting it on. And as far as did it have an effect, it certainly did. Several people that were planning to come canceled to postpone. Still coming, but like there were a couple that one was going to be here already in January, another in February, and both of those had to reschedule. Okay, Bill Beebe, any relation to Don Beebe? Buffalo Bills football player. That's why my eyes are red. I've been crying ever since last weekend. I've been married with a Colombian woman for 11 years and will retire in Colombia in about 4 years. I was curious about the marriage visa. Looked on your website but couldn't find the link. Yeah, because I don't really put stuff like that on there. But if you're married to a Colombian woman, then you don't need a marriage visa. Marriage visa is a visa to come to get married. You're already married. So that's not going to do you any good. If you send me off an email, I can send you the business card of the people in Pereira that work with visas. But you could also look it up in a Colombian government website about visas. Just type in Colombian visas, and you're going to find lots of information. I would ignore, unless it's the Medellin Guru one, which I think now is behind a paywall, but ignore all the internet stuff because it's not really necessarily valid. But Colombia has a site, and if you have your Google setting to translate, the page will come up in Spanish, but it'll automatically translate it for you, and you can look and see what visas are available. It's a nice place. We're returning this summer. Oh, but I get asked a lot. Yeah, he's notorious because he had that double padded helmet, and I think he's the only one who ever wore it. But he didn't want any more concussions. Stream elements. Where do you send? Well, it came up right after you said that. That link there. If you click on it, yeah, just click on that link and it'll take you there. Okay. Thanks. I'll follow up. I prefer to go with a company. It's hard to find the information I want. Thanks for the info. Okay. In relation to the famous oceanographer inventor of the bathysphere, somebody was hurrying up in his Google trying to figure out who. We have any other questions? Yeah, did we talk about that Bills game? Talk about painful. Well, you know what I say every year, there's always next year. No, he's buried in my hometown. The game was awesome. Not for me, it wasn't. Yeah, I know it was an exciting game, but it's like been so many years. It's like, come on, can't we just get along? Can't we all just get along? All right. Anonymous. Mr. Anonymous, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. What do we got? You know, when I was in bed in a lot of pain and I could hardly move, and I didn't even pick up the remote to turn on the TV to put it to YouTube music and play songs. I was playing music in my head. I mean, how pathetic is that? But it was interesting because songs kept popping up in my head that I'd forgotten about. It's like 10cc's, you're not in love, so don't forget it. You know, that one that just kind of popped out of the blue and it starts playing in my head. Yeah. And Don Bieber was famous for knocking the ball out of the hand of Leon Lett. That's exactly right. Thought he had a for sure touchdown. Yeah, that was quite a moment. The guy was fast, and so embarrassing for Leon Lett. Something he'll never forget. Yeah, it was quite a moment. But most people think of him as that silly helmet that he had on his head. He'd had a couple concussions, and that was before all the things that they do for concussions, and he just didn't want to go through his life the way a lot of people do after a bunch of concussions. And so he opted to look stupid, and he put this foam helmet that glued to his helmet. So it was like a double helmet. So he had this big bubble head. I often wondered, you know, it's like if he loses balance a little bit, whoop, I lost my focus a little bit, you know, is he going to keep going? Are the stores in Armenia accepting cryptocurrency yet? I don't think so. Somebody asked me the other day, is cryptocurrency a thing here? Well, I believe it is, but it's not an integrated thing. You hear people, it comes up once in a while. It was like a news article a few months ago. I don't really pay attention to it. I don't know much about it. Don't really care about it. Doesn't matter. I'm living in a cash society, and that's just how things pretty much go. Although you do see credit and debit card accepted, even in the last 3-4 years, so much more than in the past. There was a time when there weren't any, and now all the big stores do it. Chain stores, things like that. Mid to upper scale restaurants, you can do credit, debit cards there. I wouldn't count on it. I'd still stick with cash. But as far as cryptocurrency, I don't really know. I try to only stick with the things that I'm familiar with. Smash the like and share the videos with your friends. Well, I appreciate that, Steve, but honestly, since YouTube demonetized me, I really don't give a crap. I mean, if you hit the like, it's nice. It'll be for me, you know, and I'll see that and I appreciate it. And that's what I do. I look and I say, oh, look there's a lot of likes on that one. I got 97% likes, 100%. There's always one or two people. It's like, I don't know who they are, but I get the IP address, and it's always the same two people. Not always, but almost always the same two people will do a thumbs down. It's like, okay, you know, so they just kind of go through my videos and just thumbs down. All right, whatever. But it doesn't hurt me, doesn't affect me. You know, it's when they demonetize you, they hide your videos. There's no longer any kind of promotion. So I could get 10,000 likes on this video and it's not going to move it up so I get more viewers. You're just kind of incognito. As more people move to Cafeteria, things will pick up. I don't know. Things are pretty good. I mean, I had a couple weeks. I haven't really left the house in a few weeks. I'm getting I'm getting cabin fever. I got to get these eyes to clear up, and then I'm going to go out and hit. They didn't do away with the dislike button. It's still there. They just don't show it to the public. So if somebody hits dislike, the button's still there. And if you hit dislike, I will see it, but nobody else will see it, because they had people whose feelings were hurt. It was mostly because you had, it was mostly for like Biden, because he would have something come out of the White House, a video, and it would have like 57,000 dislikes and 120 likes. And it was just flat humiliating. And that happened, and people were talking about it. And next thing you know, they come out and say, well, we're just going to get rid of that so nobody knows how many there were. So you'll see the 120 likes, but you won't see the 57,000 dislikes. And that's really kind of where it came from. All right. I'm rambling. Ramble on. We got any other questions? Last call for questions. Mr. Anonymous, thank you. George, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's go, Brandon. Absolutely. You got a Let's Go Brandon t-shirt like everybody else. I put mine up pretty much before I was starting to see them, though, but now everybody's got them up, and I'm gratified to see it. And some of them are really awesome. Like Mark Dice has one that's really cool. Okay, what else we got? Anything? Oh yeah, I'm doing last call, aren't I? All right, this is last call. You guys that hung in there, I really appreciate it. I know we had half of our people drop off, and you know, I get it. I don't know what happened. I honestly don't. Oh, we got a question that popped up. Any fully furnished places in the North End open for February, March? Send me an email and I'll ship it off to Emil. Fully furnished places, look at Airbnb. You'll find them $30, $40, $50 a night right now. Are you able to explain briefly how taxation works for retirees? No. And do you have any advice on this? Do you, for example, have to submit tax returns in Colombia for pension income? All right, I don't talk about it because it's a very complicated set of laws, and what can apply to one person won't apply to another, even though it seems like an equal situation. I'll tell you this. I do not have to file, well, I do not file taxes. Technically, you're supposed to file every year whether you're paying taxes or not. However, there's no penalty to it. And I'm not in a situation where I have to pay taxes. I mean, I'm with the new increase, I'm about $1,400 a month. I don't have to. That doesn't mean if you're $1,300, you wouldn't have to. I don't know anybody personally that's below the $1,500, $1,600 a month mark that has to actually pay taxes. But the thing is, I would say this about accountants. Be careful, because if you talk to 4 accountants on this topic, 3 of them are going to tell you that you've got to pay taxes. They're going to complicate the issue. They're going to make it sound like, oh my God, so that they can lock you into hiring them. And if you pay taxes, they're basically going to get a cut of that. So they have every incentive to tell you that you got to pay taxes and you got to pay them to do the thing. So the advice you get from tax accountants is not the best. But every so often, one will come along, will be perfectly honest with you and tell you. Why don't I file even though I don't have to pay? Because once you file, you're in that system, and then you have to do it forever. If I don't and something happens, again, I'm only talking about me in my situation. You know, so don't bother calling me out on it. I know what's right for me. I've done my homework for me, but there's so many differences. I can tell you this, if you look at the tax chart, which is like 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, like that, if you look at the tax chart, it will appear that, I forget the amount, but it'll appear that if you're around $1,200 a month, that you're going to have to pay tax on that. Except that's just the chart, but then when you read all the other things associated with it, various exceptions and things like that, then you may very well find that you don't have to. So you're kind of on your own on that one. It's so complicated. The last thing I want to do is give anybody kind of faulty information that'll get you in trouble, but just be aware of these pitfalls. Looking for something off Airbnb, possibly with an older Colombian family. Try Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. That's pretty popular here. Looking for monthly rates. Well, yeah, you get that. There's not a lot of internet use for real estate, and the ones that are generally overpriced, and not always, but typically are overpriced. What do we got here? Shoot Lauren an email. Has some videos on the topic. Not on taxes. I'm hesitant to talk about specifics in visa because there's differences on that, with the exception of retirement visa. I've been through a number of times. I'm very familiar with it. I know people that have gone through it, and so I can speak to that. But any other kind of visa, if I haven't gone through it, I don't know. That I'm reading like you can read. So I really avoid those kind of things. When it comes to taxes, it's just, it really can be a mess. You know, my advice is to try to stay out of the system as much as you possibly can. All right. Coming up on the hour. Sorry about YouTube cutting us off today. Some of you came back. I appreciate it. I appreciate the contribution. You guys are awesome. And we're going to end it here. So I'll see you next week with clear eyes.
Wow.